My name is Delon, and I'm going to talk to you about the effects of killer bees. First off, we start off with the killer bee origins. Originally, killer bees was an idea by the Brazilian government. They wanted a bee that could survive the harsh environment, which is known as the rainforest in Brazil, and a bee that can make a lot more honey and pollen so they can make more profits. So, after all the theory crafting, they decided to use Africanized honeybees because they're extremely efficient at making pollen. Well, pollinizing and making honey. So the government decided to leave it to a scientist named Warwick Kerr to start the expedition and start the process. Now we're on to the expansion of honeybees, these killer bees. 26 Africanized honeybee queens escaped quarantine. That's a word you guys probably hate nowadays because we're all stuck at home before work could even test on these specimens. So what these queen bees did, they went to a natural or a beekeeper hive. They eliminated their queen, the European honeybee queen, or any native queen, and they became the main queen. And they escaped in 1956. And they're continuing their conquest northward ever since those days. And now we're on to the effects of these killer bees on urban cities. Here we can see a big honeybee hive onto a barn. Here we can see a beehive into a flower pot. And now we can see one on a house. So, what we see on these impacts on these urban cities, these killer bees could settle anywhere in town, mostly because there's water nearby. And when there's water, there's usually people. And when bees and people mix, it's kind of a bad concoction. See, they can live anywhere. They can live in your abandoned car. They can live in your carpet. They can live in your insulation. They can go anywhere. They're extremely aggressive and volatile. Like anything sets them off. If you cut your grass, these bees will probably come after you. If you spray deodorant, like Axe body spray, which is really nasty, they will come after you. And they swarm almost instantly. Like as you can see in these pictures, there's a swarm onto a park bench, and here's a swarm on a person. Now, granted, this person's not dying, but if it was an unexperienced person and he was flailing his arms and making these bees aggressive, these bees probably would kill this man. So yeah. And now we're on to the do's and don'ts of killer bees. Now, what you should do, you should always turn off the lights if possible. This is because the bees can't really see in the dark, and what they would see is the sunlight outside on the window, and they'll all start swarming that window. What you should not do is not wear any form of dark clothing. This is because common enemies of bees, like honey badgers and bears, they raid beehives all the time just to get that sweet, succulent honey. So, if you're wearing dark, they think you're a bear or a badger, and they will go out and try to kill you. What you should do, you should run in a straight line as fast as possible. Never run in zigzags. You're not fighting a crocodile, you're fighting bees. Well, you're not really fighting, you're running. What you should not do, jump in a body of water. Do not do that. Most bees would be okay if you jumped in water because they just leave you alone. Killer bees won't. They will sit there and wait for you to come up for air, and then they'll go down your throat where you're breathing because that's what they see. So it'd be not nice having like a bunch of needles in your throat. What you should do, exit the area when they start ramming into you. Like say you're walking in the woods and a bunch of bees start whapping you in the stomach. That means they're getting ready to attack you. So exit the area before that even happens, when you feel that happening. And what you should not do is do not attempt to knock them out slash eliminate them. This is because when the bees die, they release a pheromone that smells like bananas called isoamyl acetate, which means this is a signal that tells bees that one of our comrades just died. We need reinforcements. We need to eliminate whoever destroyed our friend. So that's what they do. And now we're on the natural predators. As you see, this is a mite. This is called the Varroa destroyer. Their job is to keep bee populations in check. These are what wreaks havoc on beekeepers and all that good stuff. So what they do, they asphyxiate themselves to honeybees and larvae and feed off its innards. They mess. Insects have fat cells, like storage shells, where it keeps all their pheromones and all their things in check. And what these things do are suck out all those important parts. So bees can't really grow properly. Their wings will be like malfunctioned and have missing limbs and stuff like that. So what they would do, that studies show that these killer bees are more resistant to these parasites. Economy and to many diseases. And here we're on the Varroa Destroyer study. So what they did, they took 194 different Africanized honeybees nests. 94% of them were infected with these mites. Although the infestation rate between these bees were between 0 and negative 20. So what they found out is because Africanized honeybees have more of a grooming aspect than European honeybees, which means that they look at each other and they rip off all those mites before any problems could happen. So also during that experiment, they also noticed that there are a ton of mites, shells, like not shells, but like carcasses scattered all over the floor right in front of them. That means like the bees tore them off and just killed them in the process as well. And they're on the natural environment impact. So here we have the Perdita meconis, which is this right here. This is a poppy specialist. That means it only pollinates the poppy plant, nothing else. And this is also known as the Utah bee. And as you can see in this link right here, where we go to that link, it brings us to here. As you can see, this is Utah. And this poppy, Perdita meconis, has been presumed extinct in this state. This is because those Africanized honeybees steal up all that pollen from that poppy and any other plant because they don't really care what plant it was. But in these poppies, then these bees go to find their, look at a poppy plant, it's butt naked, and they're like, oh, crap. And they pretty much die. And as you can see in the other nearby states, they're also critically imperiled, and they're also imperiled. That means they're falling off on the edge to survival. And now we're on European honeybees. This one's pretty straightforward. They're the best well-known bee. They're common. Everyone, if you think of a word bee, you probably think of a European honeybee. If you like insects. But ever since these Africanized honeybees came, it's pretty much like a zombie outbreak for these bees because